I think broadening our idea of kinship and relationship is very important. You have to talk about those connections and realize that because we are connected, then we have similar histories, and we can look at those histories together and say, okay, maybe this didn't work, maybe this shouldn't have happened, but how can we learn from that, and how can we positively affect our future?
My name is Nell Gottlieb, and my great-great-grandfather was the slave owner who moved down from Virginia back and built this house in 1841.
My family came to the Wallace land a little after the Civil War, between 1865 and 1869.
I'm Patricia Bell, and I am a cousin of Theo's. We share a third great-grandfather.
When we discovered our connection, I was excited about it because my family history was that my great-great-grandmother, she was freed. And we always wanted to know, why was she freed before slavery and all of this. And the rumors were that she was the slave owner's daughter. And so after the DNA and our conversations and looking at the trees, it kind of confirmed that. And we talked
For years.
I mean, just instantly we were able to talk and connect.
And when he took us to his home, we were out in the front yard, and the girls came tumbling out of the house, and they said, well, why aren't you staying with us? You know, Daddy said y'all were family, so why aren't you staying here? And Theo was mute, and I was mute, and all the adults were mute because we didn't have an answer to that very sensible question. I didn't want Theo to think that I was not remorseful for what my ancestors, our ancestor, had done. White people in my position frequently resort to putting the burden on the person of color to make us feel better because we're guilty about, you know, fewer privileges and the history of the use of enslaved labor.
My mother would point this out, baby, that's where your folks were slaves at. I didn't even know what slavery meant.
I was raised in the lost cause, so I learned all this family history. It was all the white family history, so that was the only history I knew. And that was the way it was for most of my life. And so I said to you, the way I think I said it to you, was I know that it was your people who worked unpaid, worked unfree, enslaved, and made the life that I have possible, the life my family has had possible. And how could we ever repay it? But we wanted you to join us to help repair, which is repair and repay to this community. We talked for several months about what to do. The biggest wound in our community related to this house, the Wallace House, was the cemetery, and we had to do something about that.
For a white woman who was the descendant of your slave owner to come to you and say what she did to me that day, that she wanted us to work together, that is very rare.
Glad all of you are here today.
We're living in a time when our nation wants to be divided. Do you heal from lying about something and covering it up? or do you heal about telling the truth, getting it on out there, and then becoming and staying and doing to others as you would have done unto you?
I was elected mayor of a town that's 80% white. And in the heart of Dixie, history is what happened. I should not make you feel guilty about what your ancestor did. You should not make me feel bad because of the state my ancestor was in. There has to be a starting point.
I don't think that any of us can afford to just throw up our hands and say, well, what can we do? It's so big, we can do nothing. That's not the answer. If everybody thought that way, then we'd surely all fail in the face of these challenges.
I mean, I think when people get to know people as people, then it's sort of, you can't throw all of the stuff in your face because you've talked about your families, you've talked about your shared history, you've talked about what your hopes are. And I think that it's gonna happen through relationship.
When you think about everything that's going on in the world, it will make you want to say, just give up. But one of the old Chinese proverbs, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And so if we can kind of show somebody, oh, it can be done, then maybe, it starts something. It starts here.